Tēnā tātou. Kore au he roro heko, nā reira he wāhi pai mō taku pōtai. Ka piku wairua ki te whakamene ngā kā tiro whakamuri, ki te tūranga i tua i te kōpū o kā napa napa. Ki te whare rangatiro o te heu heu. Nōna te karangatanga ki ōna mokopona ruia taitea, ruia taitea. Puta no atu i te kohu whakaaratanga whakaū tonu i tōku tirohanga, ki te maru o Tongariro, ki ngā whenua rangatiratanga o te whararangi. Ko te hiwara. E mihi tēnei ki a koutou. Koutou i homai ruru hau. Ki tērā rangatira, tērā matikite, tērā tohunga e mohio te ana e tātou ko te Kooti. I mihi tēnei ki a koutou rongo whakaata. Nā koutou i homai, tērā rangatira ki ngai tātou te iwi Māori. I mihi tēnei ki a koutou e noho ana i te kohu. Te maru o maunga pōhatu. Nā koutou i homai ruru hau. Mō tērā tohunga ko te Kooti. Ki a koutou whakatohi, tō koutou ngā kaunui, ki te whai, ki te hāpai, ki te whakaora, ngā hōkai tapu o te tangata rā, ona kupu e kawe ana i ngā moimoia, ngā wawata i runga i ngai tātou te iwi Māori tēnei te mihi kia koutou. Kia koutou katoa, ngā maunga, ngā waitapu, ngā reanga i runga i a koutou e whakarangatira ana e whakamana ana i tēnei whare. Aho ko he whare tau iwi, kei roto i te whare nei ngā maharatanga, o ngai tātou te iwi Māori tēnei te mihi. Nō reira, ko te uo o te rangi o te ata nei, ko te matao i runga i te huarahi. We thought that was the worst part of the day. So it was almost blizzard conditions, pērā ki te kāinga, leaving our mountains. Then te hoha o te haere, I'm never good at travelling. No, that wasn't the difficult part of the day. So I'm looking at te takatorango o ngā ingoa, and I see ngā rangatira mai mā tātua waka, e tū ana i mua i a hau. That was the difficult part of the day. I haven't got anything bone-chillingly, mind-bendingly, spellbinding to put up there for you today. But I have got our kōrero and what it meant to us. Ko wai tēnei. Te taha o tōku māma e toru ngā rārangi whakapapa no roto Ngāti Tūwharetoa. Ko te tehe, ka heke mai no te pōtiki o mana nui. o herea aroha mai. Te tūkeno tuatahi. Ko ana tamariki, ko mananui. Ko tana taina, ko iwikau. Ko te pōtiki, toku kraua, ko kerehi. Ka moia kerehi ki te tehi o ngā puhi. No tūkau marae. Ko irana tona ingoa. Ko tona pāpa, ko te huri, ko ia te teina, ki te whararangi. Ko te ki tuatahi kei roto i Ngāti Tūwharetoa nā mananui tēnei. Ko Tongariro te maunga, ko roto aira te moana, ko te whararangi te tangata. Te pāpa o tōku māma, ko tohi raukora tērā. Ka heke te tangata rā mai i te whararangi, ko te whararangi, ko matuahu, ko te Māori, ko pararohe, ko kia, ka moiana kia, kia tohi raukora ka puta, ko tohi raukora anoa ka puta a tōku māma. Te taho o tōku pāpa, no roto aira, no Ngāti Tūrangi tukua, ko tōna māma, ko rangi poia, no roto i tūrangi tukua, ka moe ana ki a Wanikau, ara ka puta tōku pāpa me te teina, ko pikitu, ka moe a pikitu, ki te tehi, no te uira marae, kei Texas. Te tehi o ngā wahine, no mā tātua waka, no Tūwharetoa ki Kawara. E moe ana te tehi o ngā tamahine nei, e whai ake i a hau. Ki te tehi o ngā mokopuna no taua whakapapa. He Texan hoki. Ko te Ngaehe Wanikau toku ingoa. He uri a hau no ngā maunga o Tūwharetoa, no te hukapapa, no te marangai, no te mata, ko te kōrero i wainga i a mātou. He pai te mata. Nā te mata o ka wiri te kiri, nā te wiri o te kiri, ka piri te tangata. Nā te piri o te tangata ka ora i tātou. Kia koutou, taua piringa, tēnā koutou. So I'm here to try and tell you a story after following those two fine gentlemen that were before me. And it starts with these rangatira. We know where it starts here. Ko te kaupapa o te rangi, ko te Kooti. Tūwharetoa's part of that story was our tautoko to Te Kooti I runga I taua kaupapa, kia whawhai tonu ake. Aha ko no rākau te kaupapa, ka pērā tonu, te whakaaro I runga I a tātou katoa I taua wa. Ko Horonuku, tēte. Horonuku was the son of Mananui. Ka whakawhiti mai te kaupapa o te ariki tango o Ngāti Tūwharetoa, mai i tapu ātia, tētehi marae ātia, i rangi ātia, tētehi o ngā mautere, kei Tāhiti. We carried the kaupapa of Ariki from there. E hara i te tūmomo rangatiratanga i whānau mai i runga i ēnei mautere. Aha ko he tangata te Ariki, ko te kaupapa he tapu. E kore e whati. E kore te ringa tangata i tīneia. Horonuku was the third tūkino. The kaupapa of Ariki and Tūwharetoa came with us with Ngā Toroirangi. On Te Arawa Waka, we always say to our tainui cousins, tērā te nana kia o Te Arawa. Nevertheless, we were on Te Arawa Waka. Ko te rangatira kei runga, ko tama te kapua, ko te tohunga, matatau ki te tatai arorangi, me e rā atu o ngā āhua tango o te tai ao, ko ngā toroirangi. Ka heke a Ngāti Tūwharetoa mai i ngā reanga o ngā toroirangi. The kaupapa of Ariki, ka heke tonu, ka heke tonu, ka heke tonu. And we are now in the era of Te Herehere. That era started with Rereao. Ariki is not a given in Ngāti Tūwharetoa. It is chosen. Each tūkino from the Te Herehere family have been chosen at a hui i te pō mutunga o tana tangihanga. And because the family has done Tūwharetoa such a great service, it has remained within the whānau o Te Herehere. Ko Horonuku te tuatoru. Horonuku fought te ro rākau, and if we put ourselves in that place, it was a time not a lot different from today. The tools, the mechanisms have changed, but the take and the kaupapa has not. We as hapu, as iwi, are fighting to retain the same things that our tupuna aspired to. At the time of Horonuku, one of the greatest catalysts kia whakahihiko te manawa Māori was Te Kooti. Te Kooti came to Tūwharetoa in 1868. He had two engagements within our rohe, one on the Te Pōnanga saddle and one at a place called Te Porere or Rereao. The chiefs that were up before were Horonuku and Te Rangitaho. Te Rangitaho belonged to the hapu of Tūwharetoa, ko tu te mōhuta, kei Waipahihi. Waipahihi is a name we brought with us from Kawarau. It was the name of the pātū watawata kei te pūwaha o te awa o Tongariro. And it went from what is now Waihi village, 5 miles of palisade across the front of the southern lake. Te Rangitaho was the first rangatiro of Tūwharetoa to pick up the kaupapa of Te Kooti. Te Kooti came south. The rangatira there was Matuahu. Matuahu was the son of Te Wharerangi. Ko e I taua wā, ko te rangatiro o te makariri. Ko tōna pāpā, ko te Wharerangi, ko ia te tangata pūhuruhuru. Kai roto I te ngeri o Ngāti Toa, te rauparaha. Ko e tehi atu o ngā rangatiro o Tūwharetoa, e whai ana I Te Kooti. Ko wiripo, tohi raukora. Ko tohi raukora, ko wairahu no tūkau. He toa rātou, ka pērā ki Te Kooti. I whawhai rātou I rau o rākau. Whawhai tonu ana rātou, kei te taho o te awa o whanganui, ko te awa tupua. Kei te whawhai tonu rātou, ki te taho o Te Kooti, kei Te Porere o Rereao. Ko wai a Rereao, ka hara mai a Rereao te ira mutu ki a rākei poho, te wāka tono tana pāpā, Tūwharetoa me haere ki uta, whakatinana tia ngā kōrero o ngā toro irangi. Why did we fight? We were fighting against our own. E tehi no whanganui. These are our cousins. E tehi no kahonunu. E tehi no te aroa. Te tākere nui o tō mātou waka. E whawhai ana te tākere nui ki te kei. We fought for the same things we fight for today. We fight for justice. We fight for the right to determine our destiny. Ngā hapu, ngā whānau, the whānau that live on that stream, unimportant to those in the main centres. But that stream is their world. The whānau who go home proudly every year on a gravel track. They see the same wrecks and the same paddocks as they go home. And they've just left the flash place in Wellington or Auckland. But ka tangi. Because that's their home. That's a home that can't be taken, can't be broken. It can even be owned by someone else. That doesn't mean anything to us. That's what Te Kooti stood for to us. That's what Te Kooti meant to us. We're not ringatu. I don't think we're even particularly holy in a lot of ways. Our marae, if any of you have been to Otuko, Pāpakai, or Te Rena, you'll know the only way to keep yourself entertained on those marae is with each other. I'm not sure if that's stories I can tell you about, but it does give meaning to hei aha te mata o nā te piri o te tangata ka ora e tātou. We usually start off playing bull rush, and next thing you know, we're married. It's a big rohe in Hikairo, because you've only got a small window to gather your kai. But there's kai. Te Kooti stayed at Pāpakai. He stayed at a place called Poutu, which is still there today. Those memories still burn within us. He brought hope. We've heard that said today. When your backs are against the wall, you've got two ways to go. You go on your knees and bow your head, or you stand and you bow nothing except to something greater than you are. And we bowed to that, something that was greater than we were. We bowed to what we were then. We are the product of rangatira. We crossed these oceans long before people could navigate the Pacific. We did. We are that product. We have whakapapa that takes us to divinity. We believe those stories. This is why the Bible was easy for us. I remember speaking to a group of people in Auckland, and I was talking about Maui, me ona tuakana, te wae e mau ana rātou i te ika nui. And someone said, do you really believe that? And so I asked ngā karaiti ana kei roto i a koutou, whakairia tō ringa. Ko te nuinga o ngā tangata ara e whakairi ana. I believe that no less than I believe that someone could open the Red Sea to set his people free. I believe that no less than someone who could raise himself from the dead after 3 days in entombment. So our people don't disrespect other kōrero. when we do karakia, aho ko te maho o ngā whakapono me e rātua ngā rai i waingunui a mātou, ko te whakaaro i runga i te tangata ka haerenga ara katoa i mui tō aroaro. That's what we say. Believe us too. Believe what we believe, as we respect and allow you to believe what you believe. This is what Te Kooti encapsulated for us. He was the flame. He was a fire. E ai ki ngā katurika. I've forgotten the word now. The perpetual light. So the Catholics have and you'll see a little flame above the apostles. I have no doubt our tupuna saw that. We didn't see what we see today in Turangi and Taumaranui. Our rangatahi just looking for a fight. We saw someone that inspired our people, that our chief would follow him. Our Ariki Horonuku, that the rangatira of each hapu. In 1868, there were 144 hapu in Ngāti Tūwharetoa. Now, we have 26 hapu. Those other hapu have been absorbed or they don't exist, but their whakapapa does within the other hapu. He mamai tērā. Each of the hapu had rangatira. We have a very hierarchical society in Ngāti Tūwharetoa. We don't elect, we select. And they're all strong-minded, each hapu. If we didn't have an ariki, we would all be at war with each other now. Aho ko he whanaunga tātou. We're close. You know, these are my brother's kids and all this stuff. Well, it's all that. But as soon as we put on that pōtai, oh yeah, ko koe te kanohi mo te kāinga, okay, all of a sudden it's going, yeah, cuz, I'll see you in the hui next minute. So the ariki brings a sense of unity to that. Ko tahi noiho te māngai mō Tūwharetoa kei waho atu. It's very hard for our rangatira at home to follow anyone else. But they follow Te Kooti. And in itself, that statement alone is unbelievable. Even in today's hapu don't do that. The last time hapu and Tūwharetoa followed anything outside of Ngāti Tūwharetoa, a ko te manga e tērā. 80% of our marae, he moru. That was the impact of Te Kooti at home. I was joking on the way down, and maybe just outside at lunch. Maybe one other's had that impact to our rangatahi as maybe Te Kooti would have had. I think I'm not belittling Te Kooti, but I thought the impact of one other tangata was quite amazing. He wasn't Tūwharetoa, he wasn't Māori, And he would sing songs like, "Oh, pirates, yes, they robbed I, took I on the merchant ship." You think, wow, so what could move anyone in that? You see, every now and again in history, someone comes with perfect timing. And with him, he brings symbolism that transcends people's selfishness and people's egos. It goes through that. It crosses political barriers, intertribal conflict, whatever. All these things bow because somewhere in time, an extraordinary person comes to share themselves with us. And we know all these other ones, they're famous. So too should be Te Kooti. This is Te Porere. And you're going to see our Ngāti Hikairo tending to Te Porere and it's a urupa, yeah. There's nearly 40, the bones of nearly 40 warriors still in those trenches. So we treat it as that. In the days of the battle, the plains around it would have been tussock, clear. But we treat Te Porere like we treat our kāinga. If there's anyone from Historic Places or Department of Conservation in here at this moment, I'm just going to say aroha mai before I continue with my kōrero. We took this off them. The goa ka pehea ngā funding. Oh, tōru kahu e ho. Ko te ngākau tērā. Ko ngā roi mata. E heke ana tērā. Ko te ihi tērā. Waihoto funding. Our funding is here. Our funding is here. They put their signs up and we... no one? He pai te kai mo te ahi. They try and help because we took it there. We made it that. We never not let it be that except for one period during the 1950s. We closed our eyes. Nā te mea ka haere te nunga o ngā tangata o te kāinga ki ngā taone nui. Kia whakararu kia rātou e noho ana ki kone. Next year we hold the 150th anniversary for Te Porere. I was asked if I would bring the names of all the rangatira because I wasn't sure what I was coming to. Well, I left them. One day we will sit together, the tātou, and we'll share those names, and we'll make a plan for next year, because it's only a year and 4 months away. We'll make a plan to bring kia whakapiripiri mai ngā moruhu kei ngā mata o Tongariro. Kia tangi, kia kata, kia kōrero. Those are the bonds that hold us together. We may work in different places in this world. Some may be in universities. Some may be sharers. I met a sharer outside today. Some may hold that greatest of tūranga, he māma. But there's one thing that pulls us together, that makes you drive at 4 o'clock in the morning on not the best tūrangi morning. And as you go past Z in Tūrangi, some of your mongrel mob nephews are trying to kill each other in the car park. Then you get to Bulls and they've run out of pies. Kia koutou, Ngāti awa, e hara i te takahi tēnei. O Ngāti apa, oro. Then you get to Wellington and you park in the wrong place. So after Pōwhiri, you've got to run outside and see if your car's still there. And then when you run inside, it wasn't in the same place you had Pōwhiri. And then to top it all off, you're sitting down and see your name, and all you can hear in the kōrero before you is Professor this, Doctorate that, and Masters whatever the hell. So lunch came at a good time. Ki atu au ki taku hoa, let's go home. And then something happens. E hoa, you're nothing. It's like tangihanga, you're nothing. What you bring is kōrero mō te tūpāpaku. All I'm doing is bringing kōrero about something. See, for things to make a difference in life, they must be transformational. Whether it's education, whether it's training, whether it's someone that's mentoring you, they need to transform you. If they haven't, then you haven't got it. Hey, give my money back. Te Kooti was transformational. He was transformational. Te Tūwharetoa have never been particularly renowned for stepping outside themselves that often. We tend to have my mother was my father's niece, for God's sakes. I was to tease e whakatoi ana hau ki taku māma. When did you stop calling him uncle? I pray it was the wedding night. But that's how we are. Our best friends are each other. They're our cousins. The people we trust the most are each other. I don't know whether it's been in the middle of the island or we just like each other. I don't know. But we just ended up that way. So So it was quite an amazing feat for a man to come mai te rāwhiti. Ki uta, ki maunga pōhatu ara, haere tonu ana, I wainga I a koutou, whakatōhia. Ara. And we went like this. There's only two ways we went like this in Tūwharetoa. I won't talk about the second way. And the other way was he kai. I suppose both ways were he kai in a way. Please don't record this. But we did. Barriers dropped. The other greatest sin you can do in life is when you see or feel or something within you tells you this is the one. The greatest sin you can ever do is walk away. Embrace it. Embrace it. Whatever's going to happen at home will always happen through a process that was born in rangiatia. That's our process. That's all we know. For something to break through that is something special. From what I can, when I look into our history, and most of our history is very self-serving, I see two great men that have stepped into our storybook. One, ko te māngai, ko te tehi atu, ko te Kooti. O Tūkau Marae was ho-ho up until our Kraua Wai who got shot 5 times, and then aka huri e ki te mihinare. Because we were practical people. But many out of Tūkau still stayed ho-ho until the Second World War. And then to hoki mai, Tūwharetoa was like Tainui, and I'm not sure, maybe Tūhoi as well. We didn't support the Second World War. Even though all the young ones from home, my uncles included, all ran away to Te Arawa and joined up with Te Arawa. But as a tribe, Te Heuheu, hey, we're still fighting a war here. Hey, koe rā te whakaaro, ka pērā ki te whakaaro o te puia. That war hasn't changed, except we've got nicer words to fight it with. We've got different protocols. We dress nice. And we all kissy round the table. But we're still trying to achieve the same thing. So every now and again, it's good to just, hei aha te kissy. He rukahu tēnei. You fellas are all bullshit. Hey, it just cuts it. I'm not an advocate for too much hui and no dui. I like to see something come out of it. Even if it's to let them know that no, we're not going to agree with that. We've waited 150 years. We'd prefer not to wait another 150, but we have different timelines, te iwi Māori. Their timelines are made up, and I'm sure Te Kooti would have known this. They're made up by that little part of their lifetime, that mahi. Our timelines aren't made up of that. Our timelines are made up of our mokopuna and their mokopuna. An example, And I always put this, these are things I believe that Te Kooti aspired to. What he inspired us to do. In the 1960s, Ngāti Tūwharetoa were under a lot of stress, pressure, because we had lands that were, someone in some county council somewhere were rating, and if you didn't pay your rates, oh. So our old people did a deal with the government, kia tipu paina, ngā rākau paina, pine trees. The lease of the land would pay for the rates. But they were asked a question by New Zealand Forest Services then. How do you want to be paid? Do you want to be paid yearly for the 35 years of the growth cycle? So we can work out what you may get at the end and break it into yearly payments? Or do you want it all paid out now? Or do you want it paid at stumpage? Our parents said stumpage, full knowing that none of them would ever see it. That encapsulates Te Kooti kia hau. E rā tū momo whakaaro. You know, ka tangi au. When I read the minutes of the hui was at Hirangi Marae in the early 1960s. Koe rā te ki o ngā tangata katoa kei roto. Stumpage. Which meant no payout for 35 years. Of course, that was us. They never took any of it. That's what people like Te Kooti were about. That's what elevates ngai tātou, te iwi Māori. We are better than that. We are better than we are. All of us. We get lost. Yeah, he tangata tātou. He got lost. I can't give you a dissertation on Te Kooti. I can't give you an essay. What I can give you is ngā whatu mano. What he meant to us. You won't see visible signs of it because you look in the wrong place. We're the visible sign. I still have my Kroa's patu. Ara? Where he stood and fought. 4 Kroa of mine stood and fought there. They put the whanganui between them. It was a dumb design, Te Porere. Because we tried to design something outside of what we do normally, to copy some of the new technologies design, and we deliberately did it. And all that reinforces to me is every single part of his journey here was a lesson. And one of the lessons that I've taken from that is where we invariably succeed when we just be what we are. whether it's our education systems, where they reflect us. Rako te kupu pedagogy. We will invariably fail when we try to be not what we are. An example of this was, I go back to my uncle in Te Teko, Pikitu. He used to come back to Rotoaira and he loved the taiwa, the riwai. They were beautiful riwai at Rotoaira, and of course we loved his corn and watermelon. Just about anything in Te Teko, you throw it in the ground, ka tipu. And so he took some of the best seeds from Rotoaira back to Te Teko. And this is something we say to, when we can, to people in education and everywhere else. These were the very best seeds of Rotoaira. Beautiful taiwa. For 3 years he tried to grow them into Teko. Ngā katahi ka mate te katoa. That's us. There's nothing wrong with the seed. But if you take us out of our environment and you put us into something we don't know, no matter how good the seed, the ones that grow in spite of. They don't grow because of. Only the taiwa at Te Teko grows because of. Koe rā tātou. We're that seed. In all the kōrero of Te Kooti, I believe he knew that. We didn't have to be anyone else. We didn't have to be anything else. We only had to be what we are. And I don't mean what we are on a Saturday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning at Z Garage in Tūrangi. That's not what we are. That's what happens when we get lost from what we are. What we are is greater than that. Koe rā te legacy o Te Kooti. Me e rātua ngā tūmomo rangatira pērā ki aia. We fail ourselves if we don't pick up the challenge and carry the kaupapa with dignity and with pride. Nō reira, koe rā te kōrero. I've got a cold, miserable place to get home to. I hope there's something on the stove with just one big pot on it somewhere. Engari, ko te mea nui, ko tēnei kaupapa. The people that carry it aren't important. E hara I te takahia anō. I'm not diminishing the mana which is in this room. That's huge mana. There's mana that someone like me would never aspire to. But for this kaupapa, what I'm saying is, there's only one mana for this kaupapa. Te Kooti's the mana. The kōrero that comes from people, ko mātou nei, ngā waka e kawe ana I ona kōrero. Koena. We are just vessels. That's our importance in this kaupapa. No more, no less. And before I go, I just want you to all have just 1 minute of prayer and just pray that there's pies and balls on my way home, please. Nō reira kia koutou. Ngā rangatira, ngā iwi, ngā hapu. If there's any cousins of mine out there, I'm sorry. We'll get married next time. Ngā mihi mō tēnei honori. Ngā mihi mō tēnei wāhanga. Ngā mihi mō tēnei wā. Ahakoa, ka hoki au ki te kai ngā muri tēnei, nā te mea he hui kei reira. Hei te pōnei, Tūwharetoa is going through te hōhao settlement. And no one knows better than our whānau from Tūhoian. Whakatohia, kei te mihi. It's hōha. What's not hōha is that settlement, even though it brings out the worst and the best, all that really matters is the people that you are representing are happy. And there's that word again from Te Kooti. Hope. Our settlement was never about what e aiki ko te quantum. We didn't want fish. Yeah. We're poachers from way back. We don't want your fish. we do all our fishing, and actually we do all our... the government did a wonderful thing and put a prison farm in the middle of Ngāti Tūwharetoa. So when we go out and get our kai, it's usually at midnight. So we didn't want the fish. But what we did want is the rod. So we didn't chase quantum. We chased the rod. And we wanted that rod for all our hapu. Our hapu, besides our cousins in Taupo, you know. This isn't televised, is it? Ka momo no haere ana I te miki tānara. A lot of our marae, we have marae the same as everyone else. Kore hiko. Western Bay, no power, no plumbing, well, the lake's there, so don't need plumbing. So ko te wawatai I runga I a tātou is no different to what we would have envisaged Te Kooti to have wanted for Māori. That each of our marae and hapu become catalysts of restoration and regeneration. That our marae are living and dynamic providers to the people. Because everything great that's been transformational has not come from leaders. Or the traditional concept of leaders. What transforms is when a society has reached that point and they won't take another backward step. It's people that change society. It comes from the ground up. Ko Ngareo, ngā whaia o te motu, they carried that. The changes, these are all relevant to Te Kooti. This is how we see Te Kooti. A kuia no te raki. Kuia, he ruruhi, who at the age of 70-something decided, I'm going to walk to Wellington. Transformational. 1975. People stand up. Who trains them for this? No one. It's their place they grew up in. Don't take them out of it. You end up like ngā taiwa I te teko. Leave them where they are. Let them grow strong on the kai o te kāinga. Let them be nourished and fed from their own. That's the kōrero we hear from Te Kooti coming out this morning. Mai I awa nui a rangi. I got a fee to say that. No. Awa nui a rangi me ngā tūmomo whare ako ngā pēra. They're Māori. I'm no good in any of those places. They can't kick out rātou I a hau, because I got no ears and I do all this and that. But it doesn't mean to say I don't know the enormous importance of those places. Waikato, all those places. But don't forget we still need butchers and plumbers and electricians. Koe rā te kōrero o te Kooti. You may be thinking, oh, this fella's kei te haere wiwi ki wāwā. No. He stood for an ideal. He stood for an ideology. He stood for a belief in us. Something greater than himself. Nō reira kei runga I tērā tēnei te whakamoimiti. Ki te kaihang ki runga rā mō tēnei wāhanga. Kia homai tō manaakitanga ki tēnei whare. He ruru hau mai mō ngai tātou. Tēnei te mihi kia koutou. Ngā maunga ngā awa, ngā waitapu, ngā reanga, ngā tū hono tanga I wainga I a tātou. Tēnei te mihi. Ko ea te kōrero mai o Hikairo, Tūwharetoa, kia koutou katoa ngā rangatira. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. Waiata. Oi. Haku tūrangaki. I'm told we're finishing with a waiata. Ke ki runga rā, ka rei ara ku tātu ai, kei te amohia hau I ngā toki. Ai o ranga whenua e pioi nei. Mā wai au e ki te puke i taua ki te mata. Hei ko haia ke i te kiri. Ia whi mai ai rā te e maka. Puko huta iri ka patua. Nā roto ana mai o whanganui. Hei paunga wae hoi mai nā o matua. E huri no atu rā kei te I te wā o te pakanga i te Porere. Ka haere te hi o ngā toa mai i whanganui i pakanga rātau i reira. Ka hoki rātau ki te maunga, ki te tū, ki te taho o te Kooti. Ko tēnei te waiata nā te tehi o ngā kuia i tito. Ka whai ia i tana mokopuna e haere ana ki te pakanga. No reira tēnā tātou.